Hey y'all, what is up? Dr. Lauren Duroy coming back at you, and today we are going to talk about something that some people are going to get, they're going to love, they're going to go on after it, and other people might be a little bit of a naysayer. They might say, yeah, right. But if you are open to it, I want to invite you to my next level universe that really is something that's attainable to you, but you have to be able to adopt a different mindset. You have to be able to leave the hustle, the grind mindset and join me in my kind of ulterior universe, if you will, where incredible things happen. I want to try to break your brain today. Somebody say, break my brain. Break my brain. No, it's not painful. I promise. It's exhilarating. It's exciting. I shared on my Instagram stories, I'm getting less and less inhibited about sharing about income and money and those type of things because quite frankly, it's giving me freedom, y'all. It's giving you freedom. It's changing lives. Like, you don't have to keep trading your time for money. That degree that you got as whatever, certificate even just a health coach, that information that you have is monetizable. And I'm not talking about trading time for money. So we're going to talk about my favorite things that I love. Passive income. Disclaimer. Couple of disclaimers. One, listening to this podcast will not make you a millionaire. You have to actually implement information. Two, what was the second one I was going to say? It just completely left me. One, disclaimer. It's not going to make you rich if you just listen. You have to implement. Two, the second thing on this. I want to be transparent and real with you all. I really try hard to not give a false reality. Anyone know what that feels like whenever somebody says, you're just going to start instantly earning passive income? What I'm talking about, obviously, it will take some time. Even any form of passive income is going to take an initiation, and it's going to take a maintenance. But the point here is that once you get into maintenance mode, it grows more with the same amount of maintenance. So it doesn't take the same amount. What I mean by this is building systems that they grow with time exponentially just by putting in a small amount of work or tweaking it or redirecting it. Okay, so without further ado, guys, let's get to it. Let's dive into today's episode. In order to build this up, you are going to want three main pillars. I'm going to take you through those three main pillars. Who here would love to know that? The three main pillars of a business that I have found grows exponentially, but it doesn't wear you out. It doesn't burn you out. How many of you would love to be able to take off the throttle every now and then? Like maybe you've been in that position before where you grow a business. That's how I was at MLM. And pretty much they always said that if you take your foot off the throttle, it's going to go down. Like you've got to keep going and keep pushing. And that was true. Once I took off the throttle, it started to kind of nosedive, right? It did have a little bit of passive income component to it in the last 6 months that I did it. Well, I was in it. I wasn't running it. I was still earning some money. So it wasn't a complete lie. But how many of you know that I about lost my life during that time? It was so stressful. So these are the things that I've learned that I've taken from that, I've gleaned from that, and I made my own business. Somebody say own business, like your own business. I'm talking about opening an LLC, and you are the only person that owns that. You're the only person that has to get the income. You can have no overhead if you don't want to. You don't have to buy products or any of that junky monkey stuff. Somebody say junky monkey. That was fun. We're gonna talk about the three pillars today. Okay, we're talking about three pillars. But first, I just want to take you through something that I kind of had a realization on, because I feel like there's been two Laurens before. I feel like there was one Lauren that was the broke NP. And by broke, I don't mean completely broke. I always had a savings. Ever since I've been a nurse practitioner, I've been able to save. I've always lived below my means. And I've not got caught up in, buying the new phone every year or having a designer purse. I mean, I have had those things, but I don't care necessarily about getting them and keeping, it's not a thing for me. I'll throw down on some vacations. I'll throw down on some business expenses, but yeah, I threw down on my house finally, but it took me years to even get myself to do that. Best thing I've ever done, but by far. But other than that, I really don't, right? Like I drive a paid off Cadillac. She's still pretty, but she's older. She's paid off, right? And I did not pay that off early. I paid that off just off of payments. So I've had it for a little bit. And I have no desire to get a new one. I could, but I have no desire for that, right? So I like to live personally kind of a hybrid between what we see is like Robert Kiyosaki, and then who is, somebody help me out. What is his name? Who it's all about saving and paying stuff off. I like to leverage my money, but then I don't get into new debt that is not necessary. I will get into debt to leverage for business, but I forget who is it? Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey, who says like pay off everything and not use credit cards, not use debt in any way at all. I like to be a hybrid of that. Whenever it comes down to the things that I want, I never go into debt for that. I never put like a vacation on a credit card. I never put like, it blows my mind that people put purses. I'm sorry if that insults you if you're that person. Like purses and that kind of stuff. The things that I want, if I don't have the comfort in paying for it, I'm not going to. Like if it's too constrictive to pay for something, I'm not going to. But if it's a business, like hear me when I say like, if somebody were to come to me and say, hey, I need $500. Would you give it to me? But here's the thing. Like, I'm going to go off and I'm going to make $2,000 and then you can get $1,000. I'm not saying to get into any kind of heist thing, but I'm saying if it's a legit situation, I'd be like, yeah, sure, for sure, right? Or like loaning money. If I was to, if I was to take out a loan on a business idea or profit or something along those lines, but I knew that I was going to end up making more money in the long run. Like, let's say I invested 10 grand into something, but in the third month, I was going to start making 10 grand. Well, I'm losing, by the fourth month, I'm losing 10 grand every single month that I didn't do it, if that makes sense. So I believe in leveraging money. I'm kind of like a mix between Dave Ramsey and that. And I'm also kind of a mix between, I like to work, I like to do things, grow things, create, but I also don't like doing it all the time. I like spending time with family. I like seeing my kids now that they're young. I like having the freedom picking up my babies early if I want to. Those type of things. Right? Like I don't want to miss out on life now in order to have freedom later. Because I believe that that's kind of a lie anyhow. I think you're always getting tied up in things. So I always find myself kind of between. If you're like that, I think this model is going to work really well for you as well. But I'm going to share that. We have passive clients, passiveclients.com that we're launching. And I'm really excited about this. I'm going to dive in even deeper to this model. You can even get the blueprint. If you go to passiveclients.com, you can get the blueprint also. And I'll share even a little bit more in depth how you can do this. And it's totally free. If you go to passiveclients.com. So if you're really serious about this, that's where you need to be. Download that. You don't need it for this podcast. I'm going to talk about a little bit different things, but you're going to see how this is also something that can really help you as well. I wish I could. I might be able to in this, be able to share slides. I'm not sure exactly if I can or not. But if you go there, that will help you, and you can also get the actual blueprint. Where if you've never done a business blueprint, the first time I had like a real business coach, that's one of the things they kind of brought up to me, and it was a really good, helpful thing. So we're going to talk about that. The 3 pillars. Let's just go ahead and I'm going to kind of forward pace you a little bit to what the 3 pillars are, and then we'll kind of dive into this, right? We'll dive in. The first pillar is that it has to have a passive component. Now, again, I'm saying passive component, being realistic with you, that it does take work, right? Somebody say work to build it. I'm not saying, I guess you can purchase businesses that are already running and but you still have to be in and on it. You know what I mean? Like passive, there's still always a little bit of work with passive. Even stocks, which is not a great way to go in my opinion, because there's like 8% return on investment, which can take forever to grow something. Even if you hit the jackpot, it's going to take like 25, 50 years in order to really grow your money. And that's if you're really, really good and you have foresight in businesses and you can like really understand businesses. So what I'm saying is building it up faster than that, a lot faster, a lot faster. Somebody say a lot faster. A lot faster, but having that passive component. If you don't have the passive component, you will burn out very likely, especially if you're doing this while doing a job, because then you have 2 jobs. That's not fun. That's not fun. I've been there. The second thing is leverage. Somebody say leverage. What is leverage? Leverage is you have something that's already built, already understand, already learned, and I'm going to leverage that. So whenever I invested in my business coach, I leveraged her knowledge. She had already spent all this time, all this money figuring out a really awesome sauce system, and I bought that from her. And she let me use that system. That was the exchange that occurred. I gave her money in exchange for that knowledge. I leveraged her time, her money, and her expertise, what she'd already learned, by learning the same thing. I leverage other people's knowledge all the time. As a matter of fact, everybody does. That is successful. There's nothing new under the sun. Tell me, like, that's in scripture. That's very scripturally based. There's nothing new under the sun. So don't be ashamed of that. Don't copy anybody. We always want to model. Somebody say model. We're modeling what we learn. We're never ripping anything off of anybody. There are things that you can do, like resell rights and stuff like that. And even I do offer that to some people. If you want to completely copy my model, you can become a part of my system, and that's extremely passive for people. It's not going to be your own passion maybe, but it'd be something that I've already built in a system that I already know that works, and you can resell that for yourself. I do have a system for you on that, if that's something you're wanting. That's what we're going to talk about today. But I'm going to leverage other people's money. I'm going to leverage not money. You can do that too. I didn't mean to say money. We're not talking about leveraging other people's money, although that is a strategy. Leverage their information. I'm going to leverage cash injections. Somebody say cash injections. When my first coach talked about cash injections, it just sounded like a fancy thing to me. It didn't mean much to me. And what I discovered is that when she means cash injections, it's kind of like the passive is building up your, like, you can see how much you're going to have coming in every month based on subscriptions, based on, past performance, although that doesn't always predict future, right? Does not, but based on subscriptions, contracts that you may have, something like those lines where you know that something is coming in. Payment plans, you can do this in functional medicine. That's what we're going to talk about the most about. Yay! But then you can do cash injections whenever you need more of an income. The first time that I found myself in a hard spot in my business where I had invested in somebody that kind of bottomed out my business savings and I did not see a return on anything, I freaked out. So I got with my coach and team, brainstormed a way to do a cash injection. Like, what was the easiest way to get in a huge influx of money, right? And I tripled my income in that one time. That's leverage, okay? So we're going to talk about how it has a part of leverage, and then also fortitude. Fortitude is what we are going to talk about first. This is something that I have in the past kind of foo-fooed because I was so burned out. Somebody say burned out. I was so burned out being told whenever I was an MLM that the reason why I wasn't hitting $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 months working as hard as I was because I didn't have enough belief in myself. And I was like, I believed it for a while. And hear me, okay? Hear me out. And I did all this self-work. I bought these coaches that were really expensive. For me, expensive at the time. They were like a few $1,000s. But so me, they were really expensive at the time. And I was like, okay, I think I believe. Like, I understand my root cause of self-anxiety and displacement. And I realized that the reason why I had so much fear was because of insecurity. It was because growing up, I didn't have a secure place to live. And it was really hard. And then I was like, okay, like, it's still not working. And I felt like, I remember I told my coach one time, I mean, I get it that I have to have a belief in myself. However, I can believe all I want that I can run through that wall over there, but I don't really think it's going to happen. No matter how much someone believes, like I have to have the strategies to get through the wall. I have to have a tool. Like I am a 5'5", 110-pound woman. I'm not going to just be able to run through that wall or beat it open without hurting myself. And it's just not going to happen. I've got to have the tools in order to get through that wall. And that's what I felt. And that was whenever I realized that I had like that, my own awakening, that I thought, once I like said that, I realized myself that I was, and when there wasn't an answer to it, there wasn't a, oh, this isn't what you're doing. This is what you need to be doing. I realized that like she didn't know either, right? She saw that too. And so I leave fortitude as one of the pillars of your business, because you are going to go through times of disbelief. I have literally hit huge goals, had big days in my business. I've had big breakthroughs with my clients. And then just within days, sometimes, maybe less, not even know if I could still do this. I have disbelief in myself. So that fortitude is really important, and having the right mindset structure in your mind for business and the resiliency, it is important. It is very important. So I'm not just filling you full of fluff on this. And the way that I kind of like to explain this, what I see, this can help somebody else here as well. And we're going to get into more of the leverage and the passive as well. What I like to make this akin to is horse and the snail. Okay, horse and the snail. So I was sitting out there. It was actually in our house before we moved here. My mother's horse is still in that backyard. We still own that house that we used to live in, that we just recently moved out of. And my mother still lives next door, and her horse is still in our back field. We have a kind of a smaller field. It's about 6 acres. Still beautiful. And her horse lives back there. And I was playing with Gage, my oldest. And I was looking at this snail that he found so excited. How many boy moms are out there? And he's just super excited about the snail. And I thought, the horse and the snail are in the same field, but I don't see the same thing. This was a small field, but it really is beautiful. It still is beautiful. We have trees that surround it. So it feels like you're like enclosed in this kind of oasis. And there's like older barns on it they're run down and you can't get into them, but they're pretty. They're very kind of rustic looking. Like that's also kind of a thing these days. So they're pretty. And the trees are huge. They're probably 65 foot. I assume, I don't know. They're really big. If that seems realistic. Maybe they're 30. I don't know. I guess a house, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 40. Yeah, they're probably 50 or 60. Yeah, I mean, they're way, way taller than the houses. So I guess that's probably about right. And I remember thinking, the horse and the snail, like they're both free in this field. But the horse can actually see the horizon. And I was thinking about how I kind of felt like a snail. Like I couldn't see past the weeds right in front of me. Or if somebody just barely got in front of me, like a hand or something, I'd want to curl up inside of that shell and hide myself, and the little tentacles come in real quick. Because I was terrified. But whenever that happened, I'd start getting really depressed. When I start suppressing myself and my dreams and what I wanted to do in a balanced way, somebody say balanced, I started to get depressed. And it's like, I can see the horizon. I can see this. And it's like being a horse. If you pin up a horse, if you pin them up for very long, they will not live. They will get colic. So it's like in the, my dad's a vet, so I know about this kind. My mom's a horse person, obviously, but equestrian. And they'll get, their stomach will get sluggish. Same thing for humans, really. But it'll get sluggish, and they're prone to become colic, where they get really sick and it can kill them. And it's like you can force yourself into being a snail. But the horse and the snail, they live in the same environment, but they have a totally different view of the world. They have a totally different interaction. They can be in the same pasture, but the horse looks at the horizon and the snail can only see what's just barely in front of it. And I say that both because of its position, being low and crawling through the grass, versus the horse being able to see past the trees. but also because a snail's vision is not great. They can literally only see and make out fuzzy stuff in front of them. Invertebrates, if you take that shell off of them, they won't be able to stand. They won't be active. They can't do anything. They have to have that coverage and that protection. But if you're designed to be on the move like a horse, if you see the vision and you try to suppress that, you won't be able to live your life. You will start to become colic with your inside dreams eating you alive because you see so much more. So the point here is that you don't want to suppress what you're seeing, and you don't want to become an invert. I just fumbled on that. An invertebrate. You have a backbone, you have a skeleton, you have vision, you have sight. You have that desire to run. You need to run. You need to do that, or it will always eat you alive. If you're somebody who's listening, if you're listening to this right now, then I guarantee you are somebody who you're just always thinking about, I could do this, or I could do that. What about this? I haven't tried this yet. I wake up every single morning, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's another offer I need to be doing. I don't have enough time in the day to get everything finished that I want to get done. And you can't pull that out of you. Just like you can't make a horse become a snail or a snail become a horse. And you're going to have people, how many of you know that you're going to have people in your life who they cannot see that vision? It does not matter. My father, I love you, Daddy, if you're listening to this, but he does not see and cannot see the vision that I have for my business. He has thought for the longest time that the most stable thing is a job, a job, a just over broke. And those who have a different vision and a different view, you can't take that vision out of us. You just can't do it. And you're going to have people in your life that cannot see it. It is not that that's not that there's something wrong with them. It's not that that's a wrong view. That's a view that can work for people fine as well. But they're not the same. You can't turn a snail into a horse or a horse into a snail, or make them do what each other does without one of them getting sick or in danger of themselves. So whenever I'm talking about fortitude, part of that is that you've got to adopt that. You've got to know that if you have that, you need to start adopting the mindset of a horse, of an entrepreneur, of somebody who is going forth. That as long as you don't give up, you will never fail. One of the things that changed my life in entrepreneurship, and I had this huge aha moment that I can do this too, was that if you never stop solving problems, you'll never go broke. People will always be willing to pay for a problem that has a significant amount of pain if you can shorten that road for them. Anything in health, wealth, or relationships. That's not me speaking. That is proven over, I think always. I think since always, at the beginning of business. If it solves a problem in health, wealth, or relationships, you can scale that. Okay, so let's talk about passive. Let's talk about scaling. Somebody say passive. I love passive. I love the first time I woke up. I've shared this before. The first time I woke up and I had a Stripe deposit for $300, and I had no idea who the person was. Right? When I was in MLM, and I would have like a new payment come through, I knew who it was because I was messaging that person like back and forth for usually a couple of hours before they'd actually join, or I did like this whole big shebang thing and like a whole training and all this free course and this free this and the free that, and it was exhausting. And as much as I had a passion for changing lives, it was exhausting convincing people to try an MLM product. Which, by the way, I don't share to promote that product. I share so you know that I am an honest person. I still use those products, and I do still really like them. I'm an honest person. But it was exhausting. Most people were skeptical. Where I was not skeptical, and I jumped all in, and I got crazy, awesome results. Most people are skeptical or they have other issues there. It wasn't my fit. Okay, it wasn't my fit. And that's what people can tell, you know? So the beautiful thing also about having your own business is that you get 100%. So if I sold a $300 package from Beachbody, I think I made $50. I mean to say the MLM. I didn't mean to say MLM. I'm not trying to bash anybody. I still use their products. So if I sold something, or like the average was like $150 or something along those lines. But I think even if it was like $300, they had some packages that were that big. I think I made like $50 to $80, something like that. And then every time they renewed, you'd get a certain percentage, right? And if they started coaching, then you got some from like people, like a smaller percentage from people who they added on. So it could, in essence, become kind of passive, but it was like this much of the profit, right? Whenever you own your own business, and for those of you just listening, I'm saying this much isn't like little bitty, like I'm peeking through a little bitty hole. You got a little bit of the profit. Whenever you own your own business, somebody say all the profit. You get all the profit, okay? And the first time I had a $300 deposit come in, I had no idea who this person was. I hadn't met them. I hadn't spammed anybody. I hadn't been in the DMs. And it was like, oh, awesome. So how do we get passive income? One of the most awesome sauce ways that we do this is through links and funnels. Okay, so if you're taking notes, funnels. The first time I was in a funnel, it hit me like I was looking at the page. Pretty sure I was in the bathroom, TMI, but I was in the bathroom. I was looking at this page. And I remember thinking I was so burned out and tired of resending all the information and answering all the questions that people had about the products that I was supporting and sharing with others. And I just had to repeat the same thing over and over and try to figure out like, what is their hesitation? I have no idea what they're, like you learn about like objection overturns and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't even know what their objection is, because they would tell you one thing, oh, I don't have the time or the money, when really it's something deeper than that. And you can never figure it out really. And you get really burned out trying to figure out, why didn't they buy? Like they said that it was, you know, the money issue, but this is like way cheaper than the gym. And then the next thing you know, they have like a $500 gym membership, you know? So I was like, okay, people are lying. Like they're lying, you know, and that's okay. I'm not judging that. Everyone has their own, you know, like you have your own saving face. You could do that. You don't have to go into stuff with people that you barely know. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But, and then I realized on this page, I started looking at this page. And I thought, what is this that I'm in? This is different than a website. And I started noticing that like it had all of the kind of rhetoric there to overturn any objection while I was reading it. I was like, how do people build these? They're funnels, okay? So that's not anything that's brand new. But it was funnels, right? If you're wanting to learn about funnels, I'm going to add the links down here to my favorite software, okay? You also get support from me with that. And then you'll also get all the trainings and stuff and live support chat that nobody else offers to help you with that. But, so side note. Side note, that I'll put that link down in there. But I started realizing that these people aren't sending the same thing over and over. And I found this link by Googling it. So I had two big aha moments that I was like, I'm about to buy something from somebody that I've never met before. And they've already stepped me through every problem or objection that I have. And then the thing, this is a key part. Guys, listen carefully. I realized that the things that I needed, it was a kind of a small thing to start off with, but every time you buy something or you enter something or you do something new, it opens up a new problem. Somebody say or write down new problem. For example, let's see here. In functional medicine, okay, in functional medicine, if you were to teach people about their gut, so maybe you have like a friend and offer that you have out on the interweb, and you have your links out there. You can share your links various different ways. People come across those. My favorite way is through search engine optimization, SEO, not by websites. YouTube is a really good channel for this. There's others, and there's other strategies. YouTube's a really great one to start with. You search for that, you find like the free video, right? And then you see the links below. And then you can opt into that. And let's say like they have like a $99 course, something like that, healing, whatever it is, like the information about why correcting the gut fixes your anxiety and depression, or why fixing your gut plays into autoimmune disease or eczema or whatever it is. They now have that knowledge, which is really awesome because they can now transform their life, but they know what, they don't know how. So the next thing that you can funnel somebody into, so the funnel is the same thing as a website, but instead of like the website you go to, and it's like all these different things, you can click on anything you want. This funnel, like once somebody finds it and they purchase the first thing or they opt into the first thing, that is the only opportunity they have to see that offer again. That builds in what we call urgency. Urgency is something you should always have in all of your offers. And then you have that answer, like, okay, cool, like I have this course. It's going to show me the missing link to my health that I haven't had. But now they need to know specifically for them which supplements are going to work for them, because we can start you on different treatment plans and be guessing and take forever and waste all this time and all this money. Or you can book a consultation with me and we can get to your specific root cause and quit playing the guessing game. And then you can even say, hey, let's say like you're going to need these labs. If you do this right now, you get 20% off or whatever it is, right? And then someone can opt in with you there. So they found this. They found you through search engine optimization. I would love to say it is super simple, but it can also be super complicated. I have learned from people that it was like super, super complicated. I decided to do more of a simpler path, and I think it works really well. I'm happy where I'm at. So that becomes passive. And the more attention that gets, the more it gets fed. And here's the other thing, like social media, all the social media hustle, man, I don't know what the obsession is. I think it's more vanity than anything, to be honest with you. And addiction. Did you know, I haven't done anything on, like, my YouTube is one of my sources. It's not my biggest anymore, but it is one of my sources. It continues to grow. And I do very little with it. I need to do more because it is a good one. My Instagram, once, like, I was growing it there for a while and it was doing really good. And then once you stop, those followers start dropping off. It's not passive. Somebody say not passive. So those passive systems, they grow with time. And now, like, every day, guys, I see, like, new lead. And guess what I'm doing in my business? I mean, I'm honestly, most of the time, I'm fixing things. Like, not fixing, like, sometimes it is back end, but sometimes it's, like, people need access or whatever, which is why I'm in the process of hiring another VA. But that's where I ended up getting stuck doing stuff. Like, I don't do very much, like, build my business here lately, which is going to start changing pretty soon. But it's passive. Like, these people came to me not because I found them, right? And there's passive systems. There's other passive systems you can use, like affiliate sales. Like, there's a lot of different things that you can do to build up passively, but that's, like, the easiest for someone to, like, see and comprehend and see. So that's what happened with that, right? I started doing YouTube videos, and I think that was how my first one came to me. I don't remember on positively. So I may have shared the story before, and if in history I said something different, that's probably more accurate because I don't remember for sure where that lead came from. But anyhow, it was passive. So whenever that happens, you can do passive through people finding stuff, but you can also have passive by having, like, a course. You can have a course that's simply like $50 a month. 200 people at $50 a month is $10,000 a month. Super simple. Super simple to build out a course that's worth $50 a month that people want to stay in. Not hard. Somebody say easy. 200 people out of the billions in the world join that. You have passive $10,000 a month, guys. Like, this is not, and then, like, you start ascending them. And then we start talking about cash injections. So cash injections, this is the this is the third leg that we're going to talk about on this. Cash injections. That's where you do more work, right? You can do this every single day if you want to. It is theoretically good, or theoretically very possible, and it is less hustle than working a full-time job or running a clinic or anything like that. You can do it theoretically every day and always have cash injections going. It's harder though whenever you don't have a boss there. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It's harder. You find yourself doing less. I'm a pretty hard worker. I'm even, sometimes you can call me a recovering workaholic. Even I find it really hard. I don't do cash. I haven't even done a cash injection in a really long time, to be honest with you, because I'm very comfortable where I'm at. I'm breaking my brain and I'm stretching myself and I'm getting myself out of my comfort zone because you shouldn't. And that's why I just recently invested in another coach, because I need to get out of that comfort zone. And that's one of the best places to get out of a comfort zone is by investing something. So we're like, and I got to make that money, right? And then you make that money and more. Like investing in yourself is by far the best way to go about that. And that's not just me. That is people across the board always do that. So a cash injection, that's where maybe you are doing a little bit more heavy lifting. You're looking for more places to actually share that link. You're pushing it out. You're building a new offer. You're doing your research and finding out what are people looking for now? What is the market turning towards? What do people need that's not being already sold? And then hooking up like a whole bunch of videos. Social media can play a part in this. Obviously, like it is helpful to do. It's helpful and hurtful to have, more than one platform. I like to think about it as if I feel inspired or it's easy to share from one thing to the next, like I'm going to take this video here and I'm going to chop it up and then I'm going to have my VA like post it to social media to kind of give it some leverage there. But if it's easy and it feels good, then I can say continue to do that. And you can do these cash injections where you are talking to people, sometimes one-on-one. You're sometimes putting them to a call, finding out their pain points, and like let's say like somebody, you do like a cash injection over, you're treating autoimmunity this time. So you're like, hey, I'm doing a special on autoimmunity. I'm going to be helping another 5 people. And then you go through with them, you build up a system for it. Leah system is what we call it in my program. And then you ascend them into, like, you help them overcome the issues that they have, maybe with disease, the side effects they're having, the effects that it's having on their life and their health with their family. You pull those pain points, you help them to get some traction there, and then you ascend them into either like a group call, like one-to-many, and you do speaking one-to-many is a really awesome way to do this, so you don't have to be like constantly on a phone call. And then you ascend people up into a higher ticket. So cash injections typically are, now sometimes you can have a whole bunch of little bitty payments that overlap on one day and it'll look like a cash injection. But what I mean by cash injection is like one person is paying you $2,500 to $7,500. Usually kind of the sweet spot to where you're not marking yourself out of too much of the market, but you're still able to, you're not getting yourself out of the market too much. I don't know what I was going to say on the other side of the hype, but. And then you enroll people and start working with them at kind of a higher level, more of a one-on-one, or at least there's one-on-one opportunity there. You don't have to build that. So you build an offer, okay? An offer that holds value, market perception and value at that level. So from $2,500 to $7,500, and you enroll as many people as you have the capacity for. Anywhere from, probably a few starting out, like your first time, you'd be like, I can only take on 3 clients right now at this level. And then you can onboard, 20, 30, 40, especially if you hire out more people. That's hard for those of us who are control freaks. And then you can enroll those individuals into your higher level. And that's where you're not so worried about, like, some people will say, there's no way I could sell like a health package for $7,500. And here's like the beautiful thing about it. Some people are going to pay for it. Some people will pay for it because they want the results. They're not wanting to go through life the way that they're going anymore. And they see the value in it. And that's why you do the launch and everything before it, because you're helping them see like how much money they'll save or how much money they'll spend if they stay on these medications, the side effects that they're going to have, the possible illnesses that they're going to have to treat going forward if they don't get rid of this disease. And you show that them through that cash injection system, right? Which is what we call a LIA system. If you're one of my students, you know it as a LIA system. LIA system. And it's not going to be for everybody, right? It's not going to be for everybody, but it's going to be perfect for some people. And then you share that opportunity with them, and people enroll. People who are doing this, I mean, there's people who are very good at what they do. I am not cutting anybody down. There are people who are very good at what they do, and they do not have a bachelor's, master's, doctorate, any of the above. So I know majority of people watching this are nurses and practitioners, because it's a nurse practitioner lifeline. There's people who have less education than you, and they're having deposits of $7,500 individually into their account for information that you either could attain or you already have. And every day that you go by without allowing yourself the belief that you too can do this, every day that you're going through, let me just stop you here for a second. Let's say theoretically your goal is $1 million a year. Okay, let's say that's theoretically your goal. And you're currently making, as a nurse practitioner, probably a little bit more than 100,000, maybe like 120,000, somewhere in there. If you're not, then you need, I don't know, use it as fire to get out or negotiate. But let's say like you're making about $120,000 as a nurse practitioner, but your goal is $1 million. Like that's what you know that you can achieve because other people are doing it. Why not? There's 1,800 millionaires made. 1,800 millionaires, so I meant to say, made a day. That's up from the 1,700 that it was a couple of years ago. And you're like, yeah, I can do that. I'm already, if you have your master's, you're already like top. I forget what it is. I think 15% of people, like there's not very many people who have a master's or higher. I want to say bachelor's is like 50 to 60%. Like it's like a lot of people, don't have a bachelor's. And you're already in the top percent of people. Like you're already in a top percent for intelligence. So if anything, like that's the number one thing that would theoretically stop you. Being a good person and moral, unfortunately, that does not have any merit on how much money you're going to make. People feel like they're not worthy, and that's just the devil coming at you because there are people who are rich and are good people. There are people who are rich and are bad people. There are poor people who are good, and there's poor people who are bad. So it really comes down to intelligence. You're already in the top percent. So you already have the intelligence. You just have to have the belief. That's where I say, like, you have to have that pier of fortitude, or that pillar of fortitude, right? You have to have 3 pillars because it's like a chair that won't stand. Fortitude, passive, and then cash injections. Cash injections so you can keep growing and you can lay off a little bit. Passive so you don't get burned out, and fortitude because you're going to need it in the business world. You just are. Without any one of those, it's like a 3-legged stool. Without one of those stools, I'm trying to do 3-legged with my fingers. It's not working. One of those gone, it falls. Man, I don't like seeing my fingernails up that close. I feel like watching the video. So you can do this. You can do this. It might take a little bit of time. It might take some busting through. It might take a few things of being uncomfortable. Do you know how many times when I first started, I thought, people are going to say, who is she? Who is she to be doing this? Like, that's what I thought. I was afraid of that. Or I was really afraid of patients seeing me because I think, will they not think I'm professional because I'm on social media? And I really decided, like, the thing that broke me out of that, I don't know if that's going to help anyone else here, but the thing that broke me out of that is I was like, I want to be home with my son more than I want to please the people in front of me. This is one town that I live in. Let's say that I completely embarrass myself and nobody respects me, which I'm going to tell you right now, I did silly things like dance on Instagram for the longest time, and nobody lost faith in me. Those people still came to see me, even the ones that saw my Instagram. I never got fired from my job, right? And trust me, the CEO once called me and said, "We see what you're doing. Just make sure you're covering yourself with health disclaimers that this is, for education and purposes only." I was like, okay, we'll do. And I thought, man, they're going to try to shut me down. They never did. And they can't, because they can't. It's just silliness. They can't. It's just a silly fear. But that's what broke me out, is I thought, well, do I care more about these people and what they think, or do I care more about seeing my son every evening when he's off from school? The latter was more important to me. I didn't care as much about what the people thought. And I thought, you know what? Worst comes to worst, I gotta move my family somewhere else. So what? Which that never happened, right? That was just kind of a silly, irrational fear. But you can do this. You just have to decide that you can. So in passiveclients.com, if you go there, you can get the blueprint. Love for you to join us. You're going to also get the opportunity to join the challenge. There's still some spots there. And we're literally going to be building out your first offer. We're going to be focusing a lot on functional medicine. However, you don't necessarily have to. I have helped people with the same model. It's just a few tweaks here and there, doing it for other things. Like I have nurse practitioners that are doing more of inspirational health coaching, life coaching, nurse practitioners who are doing more education-based. They stay in conventional medicine. They teach in conventional medicine. And then some who are building up their own practices as well. This is going to be more about passive. Like this right here is not going to be about starting your own clinic. So if you want to do the whole brick and mortar hustle bustle, this will help you, but it won't be exactly what you're needing, because we're going to be talking about passive income. I don't want to trade my time for money. I want to do one system and it keep on bringing me clients, and I don't have to meet and learn and know every single one of them until they get to a certain point that I know that they're action takers. And then I want to and the reason why I say that maybe sounds harsh, but has anyone been in a situation where you spent an hour with a patient and it put you behind and you're like, okay, so I lost at least 40 minutes that I shouldn't have lost otherwise with my son, but it's worth it because that person's life is really important. And then the next time you see them, you say, okay, how did you do? Did you implement all the things that we talked about and the health changes? No, but that was so helpful. Like, I really appreciate it. I'm going to. It was just the X, Y, and Z thing happened. And then I got sidetracked. And then I wasn't able to do the grocery shopping the way I wanted. And then blah, 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 blah. And I'm still smiling at them. But inside I'm thinking, you know that I lost time. Like, I sat up here. Like, that put me behind in charts. And I did not get home 40 minutes earlier because I spent that time with you. And I know that's just one day and whatever, but it burns you out. It burns you out whenever you are more dedicated to other people's success than they are to theirs. It's hard. It's hard whenever you've sacrificed other things and put it on the line. So when I say, like, I don't want to spend one-on-one time with people until I know that they're ready to invest in themselves and actually put in the work, because paying me money is cool, but I'm going to tell you what, it doesn't fulfill things. I still got paid, right? Whenever those patients came through and I was on salary with the clinic, I still got paid for seeing those patients. But it didn't feel good. It didn't feel rewarding, and it burned me out still. And it didn't matter that at that time, when I graduated at first, that was the most money I had ever made. It didn't matter. I was getting burned out because you weren't having the impact. And whenever you have courses and people go through that, but then they're wanting more, you know that they're ready. They're already paying clients. They're already ready to invest in themselves. And you know that when you work with them, they're going to work with you too. Like, it's going to be rewarding in that way, because it's really hard. It's really frustrating setting up something for somebody and they don't implement it. So anyhow, that's why I say that. But those are your 3 pillars. You need to leverage. We talked about leveraging other people's knowledge. Talked about leveraging cash injections. You're going to be leveraging other people's audiences. You're going to be leveraging things that are already out there. You're going to be leveraging things that people are already obsessed about. Somebody say obsessed. Like you're going to go to different levels. You're going to find where people are at, where they're obsessed with that certain thing that you have for them. And you're going to leverage that. And you're going to go one to many. Somebody say one to many. One person, one story, one message going to many people. So you're going to use leverage. You're going to use passive. I think we talked about that pretty in depth. And then fortitude. Those are the three things that you have to have in order to have a passion project. Profitable passion project. You can have a passion project without those things. But if you want to be profitable and not burn you out, those are what you need. So I'd love to know if this is helpful to you all, if this hopefully opened up your eyes to what you can do if you haven't already. I would love to hear, what do you want to hear more of? What questions did you have? You can go to Instagram, dr.lauren.dnp. You can join our private Facebook group. I'll add that link here. You can just do a post and say, hey, do a training over this. And I also have in that, I have like time hack trainings and some business trainings are totally free in that group as well. So I would say leverage both of those. Leverage my knowledge because that's what's going to help you the most. And I hope this was helpful to you all. I really do. I pray that it was. And many blessings, y'all.